Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Rorschach's Comics. I finally have a computer back, so hopefully our videos are going to get back to a bit more to normal, or at least as normal as we get today. So today we're going to take a look at Deadpool versus the Punisher. This was a 5-part story that came out in 2017. It was written by Fred Van Lent with art done by Pierre Perez. Now, as the covers of each book suggest, and come with a parental advisory, this book is not for children. The language isn't too bad, but there's quite a bit of gore, a few off-color jokes. I mean, it's a Deadpool book. I mean, and a Punisher book for that matter. So, I mean, what do you expect? It's a great book, but we'll get into the review more of the stuff. But like I said, it's not for kids. Now, we're going to start out with a brief bio of just who Deadpool and the Punisher are, and then we'll get into the review. So, for those of you who don't know, and I'm not sure how you wouldn't, but anyway. Deadpool, his name is Wade Wilson. He's got a few movies out. His big thing is he's got a healing ability. He breaks the fourth wall, aka converses with the viewer if you're in the movies, or the reader if you're reading the books. And everybody around him has no idea what he's doing. He's nuts. He's crazy. And then of course you've got the Punisher, who's Frank Castle. He was a Marine Special Forces operative whose family was murdered in Central Park in New York, and since then has started his own personal war on crime, pretty much killing every criminal he comes across. All right, so book starts off. We've got Frank is shooting up this club for criminals when the guy that runs the place says, "Hey, if you spare me, I can get you to the bank." Now, the bank is not a place, but a person. It's Simon Noonan Banks, who is the personal accountant and financial asset manager, money launderer for various crime lords throughout the world. So Frank sneaks into his house to steal his client info off of his personal computer. He gets caught, of course. Deadpool just happens to be visiting as he just finished a job for Banks. They start fighting. Banks' wife, Mariana, tries to escape with their son, Hudson, and are seemingly killed when their yacht explodes. And of course, Frank gets to blame for that. Well, Frank escapes from the house, goes back to his safe house, only to find that he's been robbed. And also, Deadpool is there waiting for him, and Punisher shoots him in the head, thus ending issue 1. Now, throughout the various issues, we discover our unlikely duo are teaming up and fighting off goons and hired guns who are trying to recapture Mariana and Hudson, because they discovered that they actually faked their deaths just to get away from Mr. Banks, who was using their son's super brain to store all his client info. We see a couple more other characters make appearances. Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, he makes a brief appearance. We see Taskmaster in the later issues. He actually catches up with Mariana and Hudson and ends up killing Mariana when he discovers the boy's gift and captures him for himself. We see in the final issue Offshore, which is the bank's offshore platform that looks like a bank. It's also the vault where the various criminals keep their hard financial assets. We see a lot of Easter eggs in the book, which I thought was pretty good. Like the license plate to the Punisher's battle van is ASM-0129, which represents the Amazing Spider-Man issue 129, which was the first appearance of the Punisher. Also inside the vault of Offshore, we see the Ark of the Covenant sitting in a corner, and also a framed copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 15, which was the first appearance of Spider-Man. Now, also in the vault, we have an interesting scene. Marvel perfectly trolled DC with this by throwing a Martha scene in there. Frank is on his back, about to be stabbed by Deadpool, when he shouts, "You mother!" And of course, you use your own imagination where they were leading with that. Well, of course, Wade, being crazy, he hears Martha, and he starts, "Why did you say that name? Your mother's name must have been Martha. My mother's name was Martha. We can't fight each other. Our mothers had the same names. Let's be friends." Of course, trolling, Batman versus Superman, which is how they became friends in the movie, which was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Now, of course, Frank's mother's name was not Martha, but Louise, and thus the truce is off, and they start fighting again. Again, this is a Deadpool book. He's the Merc with a Mouth, so the humor abounds. As I said, it's not for kids. One of the scenes, I believe it's in issue 2, they're in Mexico, and they're fighting off this Mexican gang, which is trying to capture Mariana and Hudson and sell them back to Banks. And the leader of the gang is very angry with Deadpool, not because last time they met, Deadpool gave him a wedgie and killed a bunch of his guys, but because he uses the word chimichangas as his catchphrase, and he feels that's a very very much cultural theft. And so he starts screaming out words like "hot pockets" and "how does that make you feel, Deadpool?" and so on and so forth. We also see an interesting scene in the final issue. Deadpool figures out that Punisher has been resetting his memory the entire time, and they end up fighting. They're dodging each other, trying to find a loaded gun because all the guns on the floor happen to be unloaded from previous fights, so that was kind of interesting. The series ends with Banks dead. Hudson gives Frank the code to the self-destruct for the vault, and Hudson tells Uncle Wade that when I grow up I want to be a supervillain, and Wade's like, of course you're going to be a supervillain with as much trauma as we've given you throughout this whole ordeal. So like I said, not for kids, but it is a fun book. I'd recommend it. It's a must-have. I think it's a must-have for any Punisher Deadpool fan. We got some really great artwork for the cover art for each issue, and the interior, the story art is great too. And it was really cool seeing Taskmaster show up. So, all right, with that, I think we're going to be done with this video for today. Please like and subscribe for more. Leave us a comment, tell us what you thought and what you'd like to see us do in the future. Have a good day. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Bye.